Yo, it's your boy Casual Rail with the Silent A podcast. And man, we're back with another one. And a quick one at that. Yo, hit that like button. It's free. Comment below. And as always, subscribe if you got that time. We appreciate that love. And for this, let's get straight into it. May 10th, 2025, Mr. Erickson Lubin, aka Mr. Hammer himself, has returned to the 154-pound division, getting him a late TKO stoppage over the likes of Adriel Holmes, undefeated fighter, 50% knockout ratio, nothing to write home about, but a decent win to come back on, 2-year layoff for Mr. Hammer, aka Mr. Lubin himself, to get back in that win column. More importantly, get him back in position to challenge for a title, in this case, the IBF. Late stoppage, 11th round for Mr. Lubin, and it was a good showing. He's back. He's fighting strong. Obviously, there's some ring rust there. He got touched up a little bit. His eyes were a little bit swollen towards the end of that fight. But again, it's boxing. You're going to get hit, and especially on a ring rust like he had. But let's talk about Murtazaliev, the man who beat Tim Tszyu late 2024, knocked him out early in that fight. Not too sure how much I can take off of that victory. Tim Tszyu was kind of, in our opinion, returning a little bit too early from, losing a controversial split decision to Sebastian Fundora, which was a very bloody and vicious fight, mainly due to the cut that Tim Tszyu suffered in that fight on the top of his head. And you can see in the fight with Murtazaliev that it was a little bit of PTSD there as he kept wiping his head, thinking he was cut again, and there was nothing there. And more importantly, he didn't change his game plan, didn't have enough time to adjust for that fight. I think he tried to go with the same thing he fought Sebastian Fundora with, and clearly didn't learn too much prior to that fight. But as we saw with him against the likes of Joey Spencer, Tim Tszyu adjusted his game, now fighting a little bit better, a little bit more calculated, not just trying to be a pressure fighter, not trying to be just a overall volume knockout type of guy, actually fighting with a game plan, and more importantly, fighting on a schedule, if that makes sense. He's getting there, timing his pressure, timing to let his hands go, putting defense first, and just fighting smart, boxing. And more importantly, I think he's starting to turn into more of a boxer, puncher, and will brawl when he needs to. Exciting fighter all the way around. But let's get back to the likes of my man Lubin. Calling out Murtazaliev this early, you've had a 2-year layoff and got the likes of Adriel Holmes here. I'm not too sure that's the fight I really want to see for the likes of Mr. Erickson Lubin. Yes, I like him in the ring. He's always been a good fighter. To me, he kind of got the short end of the stick. He had multiple eliminators prior to losing to the likes of Sebastian Fundora himself. In a nice fight of the year candidate, but a very vicious war. As you can see, Lubin was bruised, bloodied at the end of that fight, which was a stoppage. But it should have never got there. I think he got the short end of the stick. He was always in position, always to be a mandatory, just never got his shot, right? So in one end, I'm glad he's back, and I'm glad he's back in, position to get a, potential championship fight. But in this case, having a 2-year layoff, I'm not sure that's the thing I really want to see for him, because going against a land like Murtazaliev, this might be it. This might be the last payday, and I think he's got more left in him, meaning Lubin, especially taking on a champion at this point off a 2-year layoff. But if that's what we're going to take, that's what we can do. I think he can beat, the likes of Murtazaliev. I think he, again, we don't want to write home too much on the Tim Tszyu loss. We're not sure what Tim Tszyu was there for that fight. But again, a 2-year layoff going up against a champion on your second outing might not be the best move. But with that said, he does deserve a championship, title shot. I think it's also too early to take on the likes of Sebastian Fundora, who's been very active since these two have fought. Really, all the champions. I think Virgil Ortiz is not the right look for Lubin. I think Virgil stops him probably pretty early. Really, all the champions in the 154-pound division right now are pretty active and can scrap, can fight. What I would like to see Lubin do If he doesn't get the IBF shot, and if it is truly too early, I know he's a warrior, he's a fighter, he's going to push for that fight, he's going to take his shot, he's going to do what he can. But if I was in his corner and trying to build his career back, this second run, this second coming of himself, he's been off 2 years. I would take either another light touch up, something to get him going, just like he just came off of, no disrespect to, Mr. Holmes, but when I say light touch, somebody with not a lot of power, but a decent name in the division to like kind of get back into things. Or take on an inactive big name, somebody who else is trying to return to the 154-pound division or trying to step into the 154-pound division where they're coming from 147 up. Who am I trying to put into position here? I think Lubin, especially messing with the likes of PBC and so forth and kind of moving around, he's also kind of almost like a free agent. I think he's in position to take on likes of a rematch with the man named Jermell Charlo, a.k.a. Mr. Lion himself, who is returning back to the 154-pound division after about a 2-year layoff himself. I think that would be a good reintroduction. Was the first fight a fluke, that first round knockout? Can he step to the likes of Charlo, get him back in there and bring us an exciting fight that we never got from that first fight? Don't get me wrong. It ended in fashion. It ended in, I guess excitement, but it didn't last long. Can we see how these two warriors can really mix it up, especially when both have been off for about 2 years, although Lubin just got his back in? Can that be a big name, a big scrap, maybe an individual headliner itself, Charlo and Lubin, the return, the rematch? Could I see him against the likes of maybe, Conor Benn, stepping back down from the 160-pound fight that he just had with Chris Eubank Jr.? Big name, fight over in the UK. They might take that because they might see Lubin as, a good entry to the 154-pound division if the likes of Conor Benn doesn't go back down to the 147-pound division. Or my personal favorite, third option, if he comes back, Mr. Errol Spence Jr., 147 pounds where he last fought, hasn't fought damn near in 3 years. Welcome back to the big fish, big fight, big payday that the likes of Erickson Lubin, in my personal opinion, deserves after the short end of the stick he received all these years and only to get shelved for 2 years for no reason. I think that'll be a good payday and a good option for him to welcome the big fish into the 154-pound division. I think it'd be a good challenge for the likes of Errol Spence Jr. himself, a fighter who has, been off again for 3 years, does not deserve a championship fight. I know he's been pushing for that Fedor fight forever and ever, and it got denied, thank goodness. And then Terrence Bud Crawford has moved off, and the likes of Jermell Charlo returning. I mean, that could be a matchup, Jermell and Errol, but they're not going to fight. And I think Virgil Ortiz, again, is too much at this point in time for the likes of Errol Spence, who's been off for 3 years. So Lubin finds himself in an interesting position, again, doing great business with PBC, could welcome the likes of Errol the True Spence back into boxing, period. But more importantly, welcome him to the 154-pound division. I think it'd be a good scrap, even fight. Again, Lubin off 2 years. Errol Spence has been off 3 years, but true warrior, true champion. He's been training this entire time, apparently. And that'll be a good test, both for similar in stature, height, reach, and weight. They're very similar. I think actually Errol's slightly taller and slightly a little bit bigger than the likes of Lubin once they fill out. Personal opinion, that's the third option we gave you, but that would be the headliner to me. That would be the front option that, if I was, again, rebuilding Lubin's career, put him in the likes of Errol True Spence, I think he has a damn good chance to actually win that fight against an inactive fighter. Don't get me wrong. It's Errol the True Spence, who, Olympian, potentially a future Hall of Famer. Definitely won't be an easy fight. It will be built as Errol's coming back. He will be the favorite. But I think far as a payday and a good chance to really catapult your career, Lubin could do that. And I think that'd be a great fight. Again, Jermell Charlo option is there. I think Jermell still has a lot left in the tank, but we'll see, after taking that, dive against the likes of Canelo Alvarez. But then Murtazaliev, I think there's a lot of risk, but a high reward against Murtazaliev, meaning getting that championship belt that you've been chasing this entire time, finally getting your shot, finally getting your chance. But that is a risky fighter and a dangerous champion, and more importantly, an active champion at that. Hell, all the champions at 154 have been active, like we said earlier. I would think I would like to build something into that, but get a good payday while you're at it. I say Errol the True Spence is the way to go. Beat Errol, then get that shot at the championship belt. You built up a big name, get 2 back-to-back paydays, hopefully get that championship belt, and maybe step in to start unifying the division. Again, that's our opinion. That's our breakdown. That's the road we like to see for the likes of Mr. Hammer, Erickson Lubin. Anyways, hit that like button, comment below. Let us know what you think, man. We talked.